Hello and welcome to another Tech Talk from the NAMI San Diego Tech Cafe. I am your host, Stan Walker, the technology coordinator here. So today, we've already gone over Excel and PowerPoint, so I thought that Word could use a little bit of love and affection as well. Can't neglect it. It's probably the most useful tool, most commonly used word editor on computers in general. I mean, it's in the name. It's just Word. You already know what you're talking about. So today, I'm sort of gonna go through what we would normally do in one of the classes, which should go by pretty quick, and at that point I'll try to go beyond and show you around, do a little tour of all the extra buttons and doodads and such. Yeah, so you may notice that it looks a little bit different if you were one of our former students. That is because right now I am on a MacBook Air and the display is just different. That's just sort of how Microsoft and Apple do things. It's more or less the same. At least with this version. In the past, well, I think it was like Word 2010. That was just borderline. It was a lot harder and a lot more confusing to use on a Mac. Anyways, I'm glad that they're starting to get along a little bit better, or that Apple isn't passive aggressively making Microsoft products not very fun to use. Anywho, without further ado, here is Microsoft Word. So, this isn't going to be about typing practice, per se. I mean, I might do a couple key shortcuts, but yeah, typing can't really be taught, or maybe it could, but the main thing about typing is practice, and a 30-minute webinar wouldn't really be too helpful about that. It's kind of a thing that we have in the basic courses. We would help teach typing if we could. I mean, we go over like what certain buttons do and such, but as for like typing techniques and getting faster, really the only way to do it is to practice. Instead, we'll be just going over some of the real basic editing, because that's what Word is. It's a word editor, as well as, something to write with. And as you can see, this is the word exercise that we normally use in class. We're going to create a dot point list, convert the dot point list to a numbered list, change the color, style, and size of the text, center, right justify, and left justify, change the line spacing, perform a spelling and grammar check, perform a word count, and use find and replace. So, first of all, Word doesn't know what we want it to do unless we're very specific. It's just a program, it's just a bit of software. It doesn't have great interpreting skills. So you have to be really specific. Right now, on the left of the capital W is the insertion point. They have to come up with a better name for that, honestly. It's long and weird. But we'll just call it the flashing line. The flashing line, or insertion point, it's called the insertion point because that is the point in which anything you select, that's where things will be inserted. Like if I just hit the N key right now, boom, there is an N right there. Hit delete or backspace, it's gone. So when making changes, we have to select what we want to change. I'm using the word select because it is different from highlighting, and you'll see why in a bit. It's one of the most annoying things is getting highlighting and selecting mixed up, especially when trying to teach Word. You'll see that in a bit. Anyways, there's a couple different ways to select something. One way to get an entire word is to just double click and then it's selected. To select an entire line, it is a triple click. Fun stuff. Anyways, here we'll do this. So, the NAMI San Diego Tech Cafe program welcomes you to Microsoft Word. Microsoft Word is a program that is used to write, format, and edit text. Microsoft Word can be used to write resumes, cover letters, reports, essay stories, and more. So let us turn this list right here into a dot point list. So attempting the triple click, that just gets everything until there is a indentation or a line underneath. The easiest way to get a list like this is to have the insertion point on the left side of the top part of the list, holding down Shift, the Shift key, and then pressing down on one of the arrow keys. Down again, down again, down, down, down. And then once you have everything you want selected, you remove your finger from Shift, and then it sticks there. To turn this into a dot point list, we go up here, and we see this one. It looks like dots right there. Click on it, and boom. That is the most basic one. There's always going to be like these little arrows that allow you to get spiffy about it. I've never seen this one. Okay. Anyways, let us turn this, our little selecting trick, into a numbered list. So the cool thing about this, in the newer versions, it saves you a lot of heartache if, while making a list, you're forgetting something or it's in the wrong order or whatever. You can go into it and press Enter. Not Shift and Enter. But, oh, actually, no, wait. That was right. So looking over here, see how reports used to be number 3, now it's number 4, etc. Yeah, that's a fun little handy tool that it just has it programmed in there. Let's see, and okay, changing the color, style, and size of the text. Okay, that's pretty simple. So we will just select any of these, and we'll do the bottom one. Triple click. So there's a couple ways to change the size. One is this number right here. So right now it's 13. Go 5.5. Oh, the Mac version doesn't have the preview, really? That's too bad. Well, so I guess the Microsoft version, with the Microsoft version, it will display what the changes would be if you selected it just by hovering the mouse, but Mac doesn't have that. And that's too bad. It makes it a little bit harder to show all the cool stuff. So yeah, Apple. Over here are the fonts. Oh my goodness. Well, that's a weird one. Ooh, okay, I like this one. And another way to change the size is this up arrow and this down arrow. Smaller, make it bigger. And the colors are right here. I'll make it dark green. Man, that's too bad it doesn't do the preview. Anyways, or purple. I think I'll do purple. Oh, that kind of hurts my eyes. I will change that back. Oh, and another thing. If you make a change to the up here in the text changing toolbar, the ribbon, while nothing is selected, it'll just make it so whatever you type later on will have those traits. So for example, see how nothing's selected, and I just change it to purple again. Hello. Notice how this is purple and this is not. That's because nothing was selected. And then I type later. Oh, okay, so the highlighting conundrum. So here's the highlighting tool. So I'll select this much right here. I'll just select these two sentences. Then I will do one of the highlight colors. Now this will lead to confusion sometimes. So it looks similar, kind of. It's sort of this blinding Barney color palette right now, but it looks similar to when something's selected, with the blue around it. It is not selected right now. So right now, if you make any changes, it'll be just like before when I had made those purple letters. It won't change anything, but it will change anything you type later. And it also deselects it when using the highlighter tool. It's kind of weird. It's pretty odd. Anyways, that is really gross looking, and I'm gonna get rid of that. So that is why I try my best to say select as opposed to highlight, because people sometimes will go, hey, this is all highlighted, but I'm not able to change it. And they're technically right, but it's just like a little semantics debate, I guess. So what else is on this list? Center, right justify, and left justify. Okay. So, let's select this here. Most everything you'll run into is left justified. That's just sort of how English is written. However, there are certain situations where different justifications are more appropriate. Like if you're doing, I don't know, like a screenplay or poetry or something, center justify is usually most appropriate. So you select it and you click on this button here, and it'll make everything go in the center and be sort of mostly symmetrical, as symmetrical as possible without bumbling up the words. There is right justify if you're writing in Hebrew or Arabic or something like that, then it'll go from right to left. And then there is this one, which is just called justify. So it's like, it is like left justify, except you see how straight all the edges are on the side? This is sort of for maximizing page space on newspapers and such. It just makes it so they're like these even blocks and edges that just sort of spread all the way across. Yeah, you'll notice some of the spaces in between like certain words are much bigger than others. It's just sort of this automatic process. Change the line spacing. That would be this button right here. So right now it is at a 1, which is just standard for professional, editorial, most everything. 1.15, I've never, I guess, that's if you're instructed to do single space and you want to make it look bigger or something. 1.5, similar story. Double space, which is double space is usually the what is done in academia for the TA or the professor to make marks and comments within your work. Didn't even occur to me for the longest time that that was why they did that. I thought they were just sort of being generous with helping you make your essays look bigger. Anywho, perform a spelling and grammar check. Okay. So, to do a spelling or grammar check, you go to the Review tab up here, and there's this button right here. But first, I'd like to demonstrate how Word only uses the English dictionary. So the spell check will only work for English words. So Ola, even though right there it's spelled 100% correctly, would get that red squiggle underneath it. Now, let's try it out. So, here's some suggestions. There is, Ola is not in the dictionary, but we can either ignore this Ola because we all know it's spelled correctly. I could say ignore all because I know I'm going to be writing the word Ola quite a bit, and I don't want Microsoft Word to be hassling me for doing something that's pretty much correct anyways. Or you can add that word to the internal dictionary. Um, as of right now, there is no way to remove words from the dictionary. So just be careful, I suppose. Like if you have an uncommon name like mine, it will it does get annoying having spell check to go through that constantly. And if you're just like 100% sure, you want that to be in there, and make sure you spell it right if you're adding it to the dictionary. Um, then it's pretty much worth it. But just keep in mind, if you tell Word to have some term in there that's spelled wrong, it will never pick it up again. It might even it might even suggest if you spell something similar to it, but also off, that you do another match that's close to it. Like the suggestions here, I could have Ola in there. Yay! Hola, como es? Oops. So yeah, you can also have autocorrect, which is kind of dangerous. You can also have change or change all, if you know that every single instance is correct. And yep. So grammar check isn't perfect. There is a, I think, better version of it online called the Grammarly, which checks for other writing faux pas, except that is not free. But it could be worth checking out. Just, read your stuff out loud to make sure that it's all right. Okay. So, in the review tab, there is also the word count option, which make sure nothing's selected. All right. Just click on it. Boom, boom. Pages 3. Words 263. Characters, no spaces. Blah, blah, blah. Blah, 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 blah. So this is useful for, college essays, high school essays, school essays in general. There are some workplaces will some applications request that there's a maximum amount of words allowed in the cover letter. So this is a decent way to check it. I guess if you're really into Twitter, this is another way to check for sure before you tweet, I guess. So it won't be disappointing. And use, find, and replace. I having trouble finding the find and replace on the Mac. Where have you gone? I know I can control Command F. Oh well. Anyways, so there is a feature called Find and Replace, which is used to find certain words like and characters. It can also be used to replace anything, like if you've been spelling somebody's name wrong the whole time, you can do a find and replace. But it will do it for every single one, unless otherwise specified. So it's a little bit dangerous. Let's see, so that's the basic class. Maybe I'll have to do part 2. Anyways, some other fun things. Up here, there's some options for increasing and decreasing indentations. I know, fun. This is one of my favorite buttons. I'll show all non-printing characters. Boom. So basically this just shows, let's zoom in a little bit. This shows all the keystrokes that were made that aren't for displaying, like spaces. Spaces are pretty much supposed to be invisible. If you press this button, it'll show a little dot there so you can keep track of everything. And also the P right there is when you press enter to go down a line or a paragraph, I think. And the arrow here is for tabs. It's good for being very, very precise when reviewing and editing things. So the A here with the eraser will just, it changes everything to this weird, I guess, supposedly vanilla for everything that's selected. Let's see. It changes everything to Times New Roman and 11 font. It's sort of weird how that became the standard, but hey. Yeah, there's a whole design tab. Yeah, okay, I think I'm gonna have to have a part 2 for this one. Word is a bit, it's pretty expansive. There's a lot of different things that you can do. It overlaps a lot with the rest of the Microsoft suite. But Word is something that actually has a decent amount of skill required for the real good editing. Anyways, this has been another Tech Talk, and I hope that helps.